Listen, am I giving cute, I'm really not, but cute intellectual vibes? You can't really see, but I'm basically still wearing the clothes that I wore to work earlier, so it's given intellectual. Some green tea, and I've got a few biscuits, because this is going to be a real ride, because ever since I finished reading, I was going to say watching, I wasn't watching, ever since I finished reading Onyx Storm, it's like TikTok and like YouTube knows, it probably does know, but I'm just getting like Onyx Storm theories and stuff like that, and I'm kind of deep in it now. I'm deep in it now, and I need like to discuss with people. However, most of the people I know either haven't finished it yet, or I haven't been able to communicate with them about this yet, because for like whatever reason. So basically what I'm going to be doing is just looking at a bunch of Onyx Storm theories, and like some of them are ones that I kind of figured out myself, and some are from like TikTok or whatever. God help me, some are from Reddit. Yes, I braved the world of Reddit for this. Some I believe, some I do not, some I'm not too sure about. There was a bunch. I didn't really have any theories of what was going to happen going from Iron Flame into Onyx Storm, mostly because I just read it so long ago that it was like, oh, whatever. But now, because the Onyx Storm is fresh, this is what I have in my head. But I'm going to start off with a really unhinged theory that I saw on Reddit, so bear with me here. But I'm going to kind of read it, so I don't want to get it wrong, because I don't really know about this one. This one kind of confuses me, and it's a bit scientific, so. But somebody thinks that Violet accidentally cured Jack in Onyx Storm. And basically they're saying that in biology, if you grow too many crops in one place, the soil loses its ability to grow, and the crops can die because of loss of nitrates. But lightning is part of the nitrate cycle, and it keeps the ground healthy. So basically Violet has been feeding Jack her lightning by giving strips of alloy. But what if her lightning is putting magic back into the ground, and that's why it's so difficult for her to only take what she needs, and the combination of the metal and the alloy is going to heal him, and they want him dead, and they don't want him to be back because he's useful, and Theophany like said he's a liability or something. There's something about Xaden drains Violet's alloys and said that he feels good after, and he manages to sleep and like not channel for a little bit. And then on the Isles, they think that the Venin have been there. Sorry, I'm really trying to paraphrase because this person's going wrong. And he's like, also, it explains why File Wielder in the pit channeled from the earth. Violet has essentially imbued the land there, and the magic will be the strongest. And basically this person saying that at the end at the end of Onyx Storm, there's a small description of Jack, and it doesn't say he has red eyes. So my cousin, she is currently reading Onyx Storm, and you guys can get a live whatever she's about to say.
Okay, so before I continue reading now, let me give you my thoughts so far. I'm confused, I won't lie. There's lots of pages where I've just had to reread the page because I don't know what's going on. Storyline-wise, I'm finding it quite interesting.
Okay, that's good. She's about 3/4 of the way through. She's currently recording her next message, so you guys will get to hear in real time what she's saying. But while we're on WhatsApp anyway, my friend who's reading it as well, she's finished it, and we're talking about tomorrow. I was like, oh, because she was like, because she sent a reel that was basically implying that this was terrible, this is the worst book, and I said, oh, you're not gonna like my opinion, and then she goes, you liked it? And then I was like, we'll discuss tomorrow because my opinion is so controversial I can't say it here. And she goes, oh my god, this is your favourite of your series, wasn't it? Yeah. I have nothing to say to that. Let's see what my cousin said. She said 2 back to back.
Dare I say, I think Xaden has been replaced as number 1. I don't know why.
What does she mean?
But I'm really enjoying Bodhi so far.
I was like, what do you mean?
3/4? Almost 3/4 of the way through. Also,
what is she talking about?
I don't know whether it's just me. Garrick is being well annoying. I see him arrive on the page and immediately he needs to exit stage left. He's irritating me. Xaden's not also. What a dumb bitch.
Mm-hmm. She was
and her
crazy.
husband is a prick.
Yeah, well, what can you say? The way I just laughed out loud to this. Also, I was so confused when you said that Xaden's been replaced as number 1. Okay. Yeah, okay. Okay. And then also, yeah, Garrick was kind of annoying, but I think he's just giving over protective and trying to keep Xaden in line, because really there's only a couple people who can keep Xaden in line, and one of them is Violet, and I think Garrick has to be the other real one that just has to tell him how it is, innit? Someone's got to keep you humble and down to earth, you know what I'm saying? Oh, she's going
The
back
scene
first.
where I thought Riddick freaking died, I swear to God my heart stopped. Luckily they didn't leave us in suspense for too long, because otherwise we would have had a fight on our hands.
Yeah, the whole Riddick thing is interesting. You've already read that bit now anyway, but I won't say too much, but I've got a theory about him. I'm not sure if I believe it, but I've got a theory, okay? Basically, my theory is, this was actually going to be later on, but these messages started coming at a great time, and it's that Riddick is really lucky, and he even says in one part of Onyx Storm about the that he prays to, or he believes in, the god of luck, which is Xinial. I mean, I know he gets like some weird gift and stuff, but yeah, I just thought it's like really interesting, and that there's like an element of luck, because like, what is is that his like second signet, like, or somehow the gods are involved and he's able to like manipulate his luck a little bit more, or I don't know, something to do with that, but let's see.
Also, I know it's like a main part of the story, but Xaden as like the Venin business is really seeming like a whole like side subplot. I'm not really seeing where it's going, and it's just kind of irritating, to be honest.
Because why do they need him? But I do think that the reason why they might need him is because, sorry, I'm not telling my cousin this because she hasn't got to enter yet, but I think they might need him because, you know, that whole thing about at one time only like 6 of the most powerful people, like signets, have like wandered the earth at the same time, and I think what's her name, Theophany, says at one point about like tipping the balance in the favor of like, every now and again they'll get the chance to like skew it one way or another, because otherwise there's a lot of balance. Like if there's a dark wielder who's got like shadow ability, then there'll be a normal wielder, a light wielder, I don't know, that will have like the opposite, the same ability basically. So I'm thinking that maybe they do need him, because they know that if they have him, they have Violet. But do they need Violet or do they need him? So I do agree that we do need some clarification as to why they need Xaden and why they picked Xaden. Maybe Xaden was more easy to manipulate into becoming Venin, and then they're like, oh well, this is how we get Violet, because she'll want to be with him.
Also,
I don't know.
Arik the prince, which that one, really pulling through, loving him.
Wait till you get to
his
the answers.
bastard brother, however.
Yeah, Holden's not the one. And there's another brother, that's another theory as well. So I keep forgetting, but there's a third brother, and basically he tried to become a rider, but then during threshing, Xaden had to kill him because he attacked Garrick. And there's a whole theory, a little whole like lore out there that maybe he didn't die, and that's the sibling that they're talking about, you know, or not the sibling, but you know how they're like talking about, oh, I have another son kind of thing. So maybe they're talking about Alec.
Also, why did Dad have to go and make things fucking complicated? Like, I get it. You could only...
my light went off.
Like, you had to make sure she was the only one who was going to be able to solve it, but like, come on. You couldn't have made things a little bit simpler for her. But Johnny's already stressed. Her boyfriend's about to turn to an evil creature. She's got the weight of the entire fourth wing and God knows who else resting on her shoulders, and you couldn't think to just make the clues a little bit easier.
She figures him out, to be fair, pal. It's not like she finds it that difficult. But yeah, I can't wait till you get to the end, because there's so much I want to say right now, but I don't know where you're at, and so I don't want to ruin it, like, if anything that's coming happens. So yeah, I'll just wait till you're done, and then we'll have to have a whole like debrief about this. We're gonna have to meet up, sit there with our like coffee, and we're gonna have to have a big talk. All right, bring your notes, bring it all. She's got another one.
I think that's all I've got for you so far. I'll keep you posted. I'm gonna carry on reading now.
Okay, cute. Anyway, so I'm glad we've got that. So there's also a couple more theories. So my notes are all back and forth, so we're gonna be skipping back and forth a lot. But let's go to the end of the book, chapter 65, I want to say. Basically, Xaden's POV chapter, when we realise that somebody else has turned venom. We don't know who it is. What we do know is that there's Ryder's missing. We know that it's somebody who's known and seen him stumble for the last 5 months or so, and I believe he does say brother, so we know it's a guy. Now, there's multiple theories here. One is that it's Bodhi, because there's mention all the time that Bodhi is like perpetually going to be with him, his right-hand man. Bodhi doesn't want to be the heir of Tyrrendor. He doesn't care for it. He said, like, you need to sort your priorities out here, because if you go, I'm not going to be here anyway, so you need to like sort it out, because I'm not going to be doing nothing. And there's also like talk about, you know, the whole time he's saying like, oh no, I want to like fight and I want to be like this. And then there's the battle, like the fight towards the end with Theophany, where Theophany's taunting him and saying like, oh, and then Violet's like, your signet power, which is to counteract other signets, clearly doesn't work on the dark wielders. So then he's like, and so like he's basically baited into it. So that's one theory. I think, to be fair, that's one of the strongest theories. My problem is that it's just a bit too obvious. But not to say that obvious things don't happen, because the whole time I was reading Onyx Storm, it was so obvious to me that there was going to be some type of marriage plot, and guess what happened? Marriage plot. It was also obvious to me that the mom was going to be alive. Guess what happened? The mom's there. Do you know what I mean? So I guess we can say that there will be some obvious things that come up from this. Another one is Garrick, and that it's Garrick because like somebody needs to like keep him in check, basically. And I was just saying that to my cousin, it's like, who's going to keep him in check? It's going to be, if it's not Violet, we need somebody else to keep him in check. So Garrick becomes Venom to keep him in check, which is kind of a bit stupid to me, because it's like, well, how does Garrick know that he can control himself? He doesn't really know. Do you know what I mean? But it could be Garrick, especially because if we're talking about one of the final scenes where Garrick has burnt out from the distance wielding, and so he can't really move, and he's saying to Imogen like, oh, it's okay, well, like, you go, that kind of thing. It's like, well, maybe he had to become Venom to move, and he had to make that decision then and there. It's a bit complicated, just because in that final scene, like, I know I've seen people map it out and stuff on TikTok, and it's like, where was Xaden looking when all of that was happening, or also like who was where in those final scenes, because it is a bit complicated and it's really hard to picture, because there's the whole Imogen looking up at the sky in the darkness, and then there's Garrick just lying there, and because he can't really walk, and then there's Bodhi retching on the side. It's just like a whole, like, all this stuff, and it's like, what's going on? Another one is that it is Brennan, because obviously now Violet and Xaden are married, so it's like, in the literal sense, a brother. So, interesting theory. Who else was there? There was one more. Oh, Riddick. Some people think it's Riddick because he was being really sus. He really wanted to join the whole time. I'm not sure about this one. And that, like, I just don't understand how the brother thing. Also, he hasn't known for 5 months, so I don't really know. I kind of low-key want it to be Dane, even though I know that Dane doesn't know, but maybe Dane secretly knew this whole time. I just think that'd be crazy. But also, I don't think it's Dane, because this is at the end of my notes, but I'll just say it now. There was just some interaction in this book between Dane and Salone that makes me think like Dane and Salone are going to be like a thing, like even if Salone's like doesn't see it first. But Dane's like giving like, oh, I like Salone vibes, or I feel for Salone vibes. I don't know. I'm just saying. So I don't really know if he could be, but this rings into another potential theory that Salone is actually the cure, but not the cure, because Salone can siphon magic, so maybe she can siphon the magic back from the venin into the earth, and then by association they're not venin anymore. So it could be a thing that they're becoming a thing, but then he's venin, so then she cures him. I don't know, something like that. I don't really know. I'm gonna, like I said, be flip-flopping back and forth, so completely off that now. But obviously we find out that Auric is a precog, but we also don't know when he began to like realize his abilities, because currently he's pretending that he doesn't have a signet at all. But clearly he does have a signet, but it's like, when did he manifest it? So I need to go back and read Iron Flame to see if there was any indication in Iron Flame that he manifested this precognition and that he knew or has known for a really long time. Because I was thinking like he's giving like, also Auric is going to play a really important role. I just don't really know what it is, other than the fact that he's a precog and there hasn't been a proper one in so long, especially because they give General Malgrin so much, like they really give him, like they gas him up because he can predict battle outcomes. But if Auric can just have precognition about anything, this guy's going to be a hot air balloon. He's floating to outer space, you know what I mean? Like there's no way. Like, what do you mean? He's got like pure precognition, like proper true precognition. So there's something there. Either it's going to be to do with like his brother, you know, Alec, the one that's supposed to be dead but might not be dead. In my opinion, I don't know. I don't think he is dead. I think he is venin. But I don't know how he would have become venin if he died during threshing. But maybe like Jack Barlow, maybe they had a experiment before that. And then he might have to, you know, like there's, what I do know is that when they talk about the complicated relationship, like Xaden talks about like having a complicated relationship with someone, but like that will owe him or something like that. I think he's talking about Auric, and Auric knows what he needs to do. All I'm gonna say about that one. But I don't know, like I think Auric is gonna have to make some really like tough decisions. I originally thought that he might have to kill Holden, but I don't think he's gonna kill Holden. I think he's going to be, or at least allow for his father to be killed so that Holden can become the king instead of being the crown prince now. And then either Auric has to take leadership at some point, even though he doesn't really want to, or he has to be able to guide Holden and like control him in some way. I don't know, something like that. Towards the end, in the last chapter, we also realise that there's been some discussion, and they talk about how Ten is in a cycle of recovery, and she's like, I need to specify who. Violet's like, recovery? Like, what is he recovering from? Like, he's fine. Obviously, her memory was wiped, so she doesn't remember. But it could be possible that the Andana might have had to sever the bond, the mating bond. We don't even know if this is possible, but we know that bonds between a dragon and their rider can be broken. Not just from the perspective of like if like Andana did it, but also like it's potentially a thing that like if they turn venin, that the dragon doesn't like go with them, etc. But maybe Andana severed the mating bond between Ten and Segal, and that's why he has to recover. Because the reason I'm thinking this is because that clearly Violet's just got married to Xaden, but she's had her memory wiped so that I'm assuming it's because she doesn't want anybody to know, and like go like any intrinsic to go in her head and know and like find out what's going on. So it's the safest way to keep it a secret is if nobody knows. So she just gets her memory wiped. But in the same instant, she would be able to easily locate Xaden and put him in a precarious position and put him at risk, is if they can track him by tracking Sigel through Tan. And so that might be a thing. And if that is so sad. I really want more Tan and Sigel like lore and just more interactions with them. I think they had a lot of interaction that made me love them so much during Fourth Wing, but during Iron Flame and particularly during Onyx Storm we don't really see as much, and I just think would have been nice to see that. Just saying. The eggs that are missing, I'm going to come up with to them again, but it could be potential that Garrick has taken them because he's a distance wielder. Now there's multiple reasons why this might have happened, and that is because maybe he's taking the eggs because was it Umbriel that the queen asked for 12 eggs? I know there's only 6, but I feel like the queen will be like, oh, a dragon egg is a dragon egg. Do you know what I mean? So maybe that Garrick is distance wielding to there, or it might be that now that Xaden and whoever his mysterious Venin brother is have been manipulated by the sage Berwin, however you say his name, maybe, and they can't control it now, that maybe they've taken the eggs. Although that doesn't make sense to me, because I do believe that in the first 24 hours of somebody going from like basically accepting their veningness, like fully committing, so basically going from initiate to, it's either asim or asim, I don't really know, that they have like almost these 24 hours of, it's like a soft period, and that's why he's able to like do the whole get married to Violet and all of that kind of thing. So I'm not really sure if he would have done that. I do want to address something else in a minute, which is there's not just 4 missing riders, but there's also, and their dragons, there's also 3 dead elders, which is 3 of the old elder dragons are dead, and we don't know why. And it looks like at the moment Xaden is going to be blamed for that, but we don't actually know what's happened, because this is another theory, that did Tan have to kill them, or who's killed them, or like what's happened? Is it to like do with stealing the eggs? Don't know. So we need to find out that. We've already talked about the complicated loyalty between Arik and Xaden, but this might be another reason why Arik is also missing at the end of the book. And it might be because he's gone with Garrick, or maybe he's the one that's stolen the eggs. But I think if the eggs were stolen, he would be the one to go with Garrick to because Garrick is needed to distance wield them and take them away. Unless there's another distance wielder, which I don't imagine that there is, because they just said that there hasn't been one in like a century, and if Garrick isn't already Venin, then there wouldn't be one to counter his balance, if that makes sense. I don't know. Anyway, so we also know at the end of the book that Imogen wipes Violet's memory, and it's probably so that she doesn't get implicated, because there's a bunch of like epigraphs and stuff, and the epigraphs might be, so that's the little, the little segments of text at the start of each chapter. Well, that might be to do with like an investigation, like an internal investigation is happening, and that's what those little snippets are for. That's a cute theory that it's like not really consequential, but I just thought that it was kind of cute. And then also about Imogen wiping the memory so she doesn't get implicated. I've written this later on down the bottom, so this video is definitely going to be super complicated. But there's this whole thing about Andana says, oh, I won't let them burn you. And I was a bit confused when I was reading this, because I know that it's, if you commit treason against the Codex, they can burn you to like execute you and get rid of you. So is she talking about, I won't let like the humans burn you for this, and the Empire, whatever, I won't let them do this, like you won't be blamed for this, you're not going to be implicated, and that's why we needed to wipe your memory as well. But could it be also, because my whole thing is, what the flip happened? Like, and to swear Andana hasn't been gone that long, she already can't fly very fast. How has she gone and changed her mind and come back and joined the fight? And then did she bring the other Irids with her? Because they talk about a shadow, and I'm not sure, is the shadow something else? Like, is it, I don't know what's going on, but because I was thinking, like, I know that the Irids are a bit chameleon-like, so is it them? And if so, like, how did she convince them to come back, and what made them change their mind? And the Irids definitely have something else going on, like, because they never answer clearly about whether they helped before, and like I think they've been weaponized before, and that's why they're so against it. And so they're kind of on this their apocalyptic venture, almost Noah's Ark, like they're like, guys, just let them wipe themselves out and we'll start again, like just let everyone die and we'll just start again. That's the vibe they're giving. But I don't know, because now they've come back, so something's clearly changed, but I don't know what. And to be honest, it might just be that only Andana's come back. I just don't think so. I think that they wouldn't introduce what's his name, Leviathan or whatever, so much if they were just gonna, like, you know what I mean? Like, what would be the point? And he's the one that came first to like power the wards. If you wanted them to wipe themselves out, just let them do it. Do you know what I mean? But I don't know. Whatever. We also find out that Violet is a dream walker, and honestly, when I first read this, I was like, I don't understand why that's important. Like, like I get it, but why is it so dangerous? But I see why it could be. But this, I have now come to realize, is the balancing power to the sage Berwin. I don't really know how to say his name, but I just thought that was interesting, because I'm sure there'll be much to do with that there, because she can go in and like manipulate dreams and like meddle. But then I'm thinking, is that what Berwin does? Like, has he been going into other people's dreams and manipulating them and meddling? I don't know, because that seems like it almost seems like a mind control method, and it seems like a way that you could convince someone to become Venin, but I don't know. Maybe I'm taking this book in a completely different direction from the author, but yeah. We're talking about the marriage. So there's a bit in the scene where, when Xaden is channeling, they have the whole like, Violet says I love you, and it like sort of cuts through and like gets trapped in his, I don't know, soul or whatever. But then we also learn that when you turn Venin, your soul like breaks and cracks. There's no way of putting it back together, like it's essentially dying. But it might be that the I love you and the love that they have like has kept a piece of his soul intact or something like that. Another theory is that that's the reason why they did the marriage, is not just to give Tyrandor to Violet and all of that, because to be honest, it's not really that important in my opinion. Like, that's not really that important, but it's to keep a piece of Xaden's soul intact. And so when he says in his little note, like, don't look for me, it's, or what is it, what does he say, it's yours now, don't look for me, or whatever, the it he's referring to is his soul that is still living. I think that's the trajectory I'm going down. One of my more popular theories that I like, and also that I actually think is true, is I don't believe Neolin is dead. Ten says too many times we don't talk about the one that comes before you for this not to be true. I think Neolin either was Venin, but I don't think so, or at least turned Venin to bring Brennan back to life because they were in love. Just saying. Because what, you know, there's that whole scene where it's like they asked Violet like, oh, who's Brennan's first love, and she was like, do you know how much age gap there is? Like, Brennan's not telling me who he loved, but there is some talk that he loved somebody who was like a couple years older than him. I'm thinking, that is that Naolin? Also, is Naolin's surname like Ascara or whatever, and is that why Brennan's using the surname? I don't know. It would also explain why he'd be less hesitant to turn Venin himself, because his whole piece of lover is out there, and also they don't really let him go out and about that much or like join in these kind of activities. And is that because Naolin is out there somewhere and they know that if Brennan sees him and knows what he's done for him, it's game over and that's it, he's gone? But the reason that people think this is because that Brennan has that rune on his hand that Naolin put to resurrect him, but it's all grey and stuff, and they thought that that was like why, you know, he was like resurrected. I don't know. And then Dane has that like handprint, that grey handprint from like where the Venin tried to like drain him. But when what's her name, Salone, does the whole transfer, nothing happens, and then Violet's like, oh, interesting. So that's what makes me think that Naolin was Brennan's lover, turns Last Rider, turned Venin to save Brennan. That was like a wrap. That was so cute. Another theory that I see a lot is that Violet's dad might be Venin, like he might be, you know, that main one that they always talk about, but I don't really know because I don't know. This is actually not really a theory, but rather just fact at this point, like that Violet's signet is not lightning, and it's pure power that just takes the form of lightning. And so we need to find out that, you know how like Andana's kind are just like, oh, we like they're pure magic, right? They don't need this external magic, like they kind of can just do what they want, make bonds, break bonds, like whatever. They can just, it's all like within itself. And same with Violet's power and her lightning, like she doesn't need for it to already be like stormy and stuff like that. I mean, at first I think she did, but now it doesn't really appear to be that way. It's like she can make it, like she can form just lightning in her hands and stuff, and I think that that is a pretty good way to go about it. But I just want to know, like, why her? That's what I still don't understand. I still have a lot of questions. It's like, why does Violet have a connection with the dragons when nobody else does, when they're in the Isles? Is it because of the pure power that she has, or is it because of the pure magic that Andana has? But I don't know, maybe. I already mentioned Riddick's luck. I'm kind of still going for that one. I think that's kind of cute. Just talked about Xaden's soul being in Violet. Also, the next one I don't really like, but I could totally see why this is happening, and that we have a lot of mentions of like Violet being dizzy and nauseous. I think you guys know where this is coming, and there's this whole pregnancy theory, and the theory is either that the fertility suppressant that they usually take is like magic or whatever, and it didn't work on the Isles. I don't think I believe that, because technically it's a concoction, and there is some type of magic going on in the Isles. It's just we don't really know what's happening. It's just like, I think it's just a different form. It might be like magic in the terms of like from like a religion and God perspective, because they mention that a lot this time around. But I do think that this kind of might be true, because there's also a lot of like counting down, and it's like, why are you telling me all these numbers? Like, there's got to be a reason. And at first I thought it was just like a sort of like a almost like AA type thing, because I know that they're talking about becoming venin is like an addiction. Once you have the power, you just want more and more and more, and so they're doing like a, you know, like a 73 days since I've done it, but then there's also talk that these numbers are correlating to the fact that they have conceived child. There's also a lot of mention of air. I don't know, I really don't want this one to be true, but I feel like it could be possible. And if it's not true, I'm also annoyed, because it's like, why did you mention it so many times? Yeah, so I don't really know about that one. But yeah, I've got so many that's still going on. I think I've already talked about half of these anyway. We've already talked about Xaden's new brother, Violet and Xaden's marriage. I really don't think it was because of Tyrandor, but yeah, I mean, I guess it could be. I think it's interesting that the high priestess of Dune is the one that owes the favor, maybe, and blessed their marriage. And I think it's interesting because Violet was almost dedicated to Dune. They're talking about her having a connection with Malik, and like Dune and Malik are like kind of on opposite spectrums of the like in terms of their abilities and stuff, but interesting. Violet has asked Imogen to remove her memories. She doesn't remember it, but probably did. Oh, interesting theory was that the prologue and the last chapter of the book might be connected, but we just read them separated. So because you know at the start what did it Andana says, I really wish I had my copy right now, but I'm pretty sure it's Andana says something. No, it's Violet, and Violet says after Garrick and Bodhi, there's only one person I trust to like do all of this, and I just assumed at the time that that was to do with the whole Venin thing and like telling I mean it might be telling Imogen that not Violet, I'm getting all the names confused right now, telling Imogen that Xaden has become Venin, but could it be to do with we need to like tell Glain or Glade, whatever her dragon's name is, like she says, call him, and it might be that they're calling Imogen then because they're like, Imogen, we need you to remove the memories. But yeah. Oh, I've said this about Salone siphoning, not leaving marks on Brennan and Dane, but they have marks. Also, why did we have Rhiannon's POV? Because nothing really happened, and I think it was nice and cool to see, but it appeared like it was included for no reason, but there must have been a reason, but I need to reread the chapter and figure out why. Either that or it's got something to do with the previous chapter, because they talk about in the previous chapter, like literally right at the end, like somebody, oh, but she can, like, oh, someone powerful, but she can, and then it all of a sudden switches to Rhiannon's perspective. So maybe Rhiannon has actually got something, or somebody in her chapter has something that's really important, but could not tell you what it is. We already know about, I talked about Arik's signet because it's kind of forbidden, but he's still alive. And Andana's return, she's literally gone for about 12 hours. I don't understand like how she's managed to do that. But I guess we'll find out if there's still like two more books, I suppose. But yeah, like I mentioned, there's a lot of importance with gods. I don't know why, but there is. I'm assuming there's going to be, so we've got confirmation now that Xaden has transformed into Venin, but I guess we'll see now like how that works, like his relationship with his sage, and whether he goes up the ranks quickly and how much he's able to like control himself, or like how much of his soul is actually not there. I don't know. We'll see. I've seen a lot of theories that in the next book, either it will be from Xaden's perspective or we'll flip-flop back and forth and there won't be much interaction between the two, but I think there will be, but maybe through the dreams, and that's how they're going to keep in contact. But then that doesn't make sense to me because any intrinsic who tortures her again might be able to figure it out as well, but I don't know. Resurrection of characters, again, I already think Neolin is going to be one of them, and maybe Violet's dad, but I don't know. There's something about Violet's dad. He's giving me sketch anyway from like all of this stuff, like what the grandma's angry for a reason, and it can't purely just be because he tried to dedicate her to Dune. Like there must be something. Well, I don't know. We've got what the hell's happening with Jack? Not a clue. When's it gonna be the Venin invasion? What they're already invading. Like what are we trying to achieve here? Like I actually don't understand. Like kill the king and then that's it, you're through. But I guess is it because of the wards? I don't really know. I really don't know. I also still don't know what's happening between Navarre and Promiel, and I also don't really know why it's important anymore. Like it just doesn't seem that important, but I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it is. I think an interesting theory I've seen is that in the first book we find out that Dane was stealing or secretly looking at Violet's memories, In the second book, we see Violet resent that and say, hun, don't flip and touch me. But then I think in the third book, obviously we've had this whole thing happen, but I think in the fourth one, because like Dane's been kind of getting a redemption arc because he's kind of just like normal and sane now, but I think that in the next one, that now she's going to actively request Dane to like sort through her memories. This is if Dane's not already Venin, because that's a whole other thing. Dane to sort through her memories and try and figure out what the hell happened. Interesting. There's also a lot of importance given to colour. I'll talk about more colour in a minute, but I do want to talk about the flecks of gold that have become amber in Xaden's eyes during this book, where as he turns, as he like loses control sometimes. But you know whose eyes are are amber all the time? Brennan's. And we do know that initiates and asims like can't really like cloak or control themselves. However, sages and mavens, according to Jack, like they could be like everywhere and you wouldn't even know. So they must be able to like mask themselves or glamour themselves or something. Interesting. Also, what's with the compass? The compass has to be important. I just don't know why. I just don't know why it's important yet. I also have seen that maybe Garrick is the one that distance travelled them to Umbriel or wherever to get the High Priestess to marry Xaden and Violet. But I'm thinking Garrick was really burnt out, and like how much can he recover in like under 12 hours? I don't really know. And this is assuming that he didn't already turn Venin, unless he did turn Venin and that's why he has all this energy. But again, he's also in his soft phase, and he's still loyal to what's his name, Xaden. So maybe Xaden was able to convince him, and then that's why they're able to hopscotch back and forth everywhere, because they really are going all around the shop. Like I really don't know how they're doing it, but they are. I think I've already mentioned this, but I think Violet is the skew to tip the balance that Theophanie's talking about, because you know how we saw that as soon as Xaden started becoming more Venin, somebody else cropped up with shadow wielding abilities, so it's a balance thing. But maybe Violet's the one that's going to skew because it's pure power, and I assume there's not going to be a pure power Venin, but maybe there will be. I don't know. My question is, why do the Venin want the Irids? Because originally they didn't seem that concerned about them. Why don't they just go and look for themselves anyway? But then they're trying to get Andana or they're trying to get Violet with Andana, and Violet seems to lose her importance when Theophanie's like, oh well, isn't it a shame that you don't isn't it unfortunate that you don't have your Irid anymore? So it's like, why does she care so much? I don't really know. I really don't know. What else have I got? We still don't know what General Atos' signet is, and also I am beginning to think that somebody in leadership somewhere, at least one person, we already know about Panchek, but there's got to be other people that also how have they been hiding it for so long? I have no idea. Also, I'd like to know why Jack hates Violet so much, because like he's literally hated her from the start, and surely it's not just because she's a nepo baby. Like something's going on. I have heard some crazy rumor about maybe their siblings, like part siblings, like maybe Violet's dad Asher had a relationship with somebody else at some point and had another child, and that's Jack. And that's why he hates Violet so much. But I don't know, I just don't understand. What I did think was cute was there were so many hints throughout the book about the marriage and everything, but what I didn't pick up on until much later is that, remember the sword or the dagger, whatever, that they get back from King Tory, that belonged to the Ryerson family. The emerald is missing from the hilt, and that is the ring that she ends up wearing at the end, so Xaden must have been planning it for a while. And like, no, he called her a consort, and then she was like, what, like, we're not married. And then he's like, yeah, well, calling you girlfriend like doesn't really like account for like how permanent this is. And then she's like, yeah, we're not talking about this right now. And he's like, well, we should. I don't know why that bit really got me, but it did. It really, really did. Also, I'd like to know why Asher Sorrengail / Asher Daxton has changed his name. Like, so like he's the one that changed his name. Like, okay, cool, equality, we love that, but when did that happen? Why did it happen? Also, didn't what's her name? Lilith Sorrengail, aka Violet's mom, say that all Sorrengails are riders, but Asher was a scribe. So maybe he did have a dragon. Or maybe he, when he was doing his research on the Feathertails, which is what we assume is what got him killed, or that's how he became Venin, is that maybe he bonded somehow an Irid, or he made a connection, because I know Irids aren't a bit like, why are we bonding, but he made some type of connection with a Feathertail or an Irid, and maybe that's why he was a Sorrengail as well. But then my question is like, how has he died? And I think that his death has definitely got poison, something to do with poisons. They mention poisons a little bit too often for it not to be like that. Plus, don't they mention it during the whole poisoning thing when they're in, I don't know, you know, when they're talking about the eyes? Also, speaking of the eyes, you know, they're talking about the eyes, and then somebody says, oh, I should have known that you were Asher Daxton, Asher Sorrengail's child, because you have the same eyes. Surely this is going to come up again. One of the Venin is going to be like, noticed they're going to have the same eyes, flipping Asher. I think so. What else have I got? Another thing I've heard is that maybe there's not just, so you know how there's this whole 1 signet, 2 signet, whatever, but, and like, it's like, why do some people have 2 and like, why not? But I don't think it's about like whether you have the ability to have it, it's about whether your dragon decides that you can have it. And I believe that perhaps Violet might have a 3rd signet, because they mention a leash a lot, and if you're when I think leash, I think like you're tied to something, but apparently leash can also mean to heighten the power of others around you. So there's that. We also see the mention of like the 2nd 6 a lot, so I think I talked about this a little bit earlier, but the mention that there's like the rarest of the signets, like all 6 of them to like manifest at once and walk the continent simultaneously is like extremely rare. I think this happens in like chapter 15 or 16 or something, like right at the start in the epigraph, but we don't know who the 6 could be. What we do know from Iron Flame is that they will need to be potentially made up of the same 6. Well, yeah, they definitely would be, because you're talking about from like a power perspective, but we could look at like the close circle, so maybe they need to each have one of the dragons, so maybe it's actually 7, but for now let's go with 6, because we know Navarre's not past change in the history, so maybe it was actually 7, but we're saying 6 for the purpose of history. Still don't know why they've done that as well, like who made that decision that we're not going to talk about the Irids, or maybe it was the Irids that were like, hun, don't talk about us until we know that you guys are peaceful, and they were like, actually we don't want to be peaceful, so we're just going to write you out of the history anyway. Pettiness on steroids, let me tell you. But yeah, like maybe it's like about not just about the type of power you have, but also the type of dragon that you have, and a bunch of stuff like that. Like for example, you can have a black dragon, so like that could be Violet, so she's got the power that manifests as lightning. And there hasn't been a lightning wielder in more than a century. You've got a blue dragon, that's Xaden's like shadow wielding. He's also an intrinsic, but again, shadow wielding is supposed to be one of the most like crazy ones to have. You could have a brown dragon, so Garrick is a distance wielder, but he also has wind wielding as well. I forgot that he had that. You can have a green dragon, so maybe like summoning power. Rhiannon's got summoning, which is why I think, you know, when they were talking about, like I said, like why have they given Rihanna's perspective, but then like literally a chapter before they were like, oh, but she has, maybe they're talking about Rhiannon, and this is a hint that Rhiannon is one of the people that is part of this little group. And we also have a red dragon. Dane's got a red dragon. He's a memory reader, although I don't really know how valuable this power is going to be, but you've got to remember it's not just about in battle, it could be in other ways as well, so that's interesting. Imogen's got an orange dragon. She earth wields but also has mind wielding. Again, an earth wielder has basically never existed from what they know, but I don't know. And these are just to name some, but there are other people, like for example, Salone's signet could be considered to be more powerful than Dane's, for example, so maybe that's Dane, or maybe Riddick could be in there somewhere as well, so something to do with that. But then again, like I said, rewrite the history, it could be to do with 7, maybe there's 7 isles, 7 gods, 7 dragons, 7 big signets, so maybe that's what it's all about, but I have no idea. I mentioned the gods earlier, so we've got Malik, who's the god of death, Dune, the goddess of war and strength, Amari, who's the queen of the gods, Ziniel, who's the god of luck, Hedon, which is the god of wisdom, and then Loyal, who is the god of love. Now, please, please, please don't tell me that the cure is going to be love. This isn't Frozen. This isn't Akatar. I'm sick of it. Like, there's got to be something more than that. Or at least it can't be the only thing, because I'm actually getting sick of this one, because that one, I don't know. But yeah, maybe there's another god that we don't talk about. Yeah, I'm still going as well. There's only a couple more though. So we've got the hatchlings. So maybe we want to give the hatchlings to the Irids as like almost like a trade-off. So it's like help us and look, we'll give you these and then you can do whatever you want with them, and like hopefully you can achieve whatever the plan was when you sent Andana to us, but we'll give you these hatchlings and like please help us. I've also seen this really cute theory that maybe the hatchlings are actually Tan and Sagals and they need to keep them safe because they think that something's going to happen, or maybe these hatchlings are important somehow to like the new order or whatever they're going to do. But yeah, honestly, there's so much theory, and I know that like this is a scratching the surface. Like there's so much more, and I'm just waiting for other people to like be smart and figure it out, and then I can just like feed off them figuring it out. But can you believe that I've literally been talking about this for an hour? But yeah, if you have any other theories, please either link the TikTok or write it down here. I would much prefer if you write it in the comment, because it's much easier for me to see it then, because otherwise I have to go and like search for it, but it's all collated in one spot, or link at the Reddit board or whatever, I don't know. Again, I'd prefer if it was just the comment, or which theory do you believe in or do you not believe in, because I'm honestly, like, it's not even, I don't know, I'm just invested in the series, even though I'm not going to say it's not good, because it is good. Like, there's a level of mastery and skill required, that so much of this like theory is going on, like so much lore, like so many connections in so many different ways. I think it helps that there's so many characters, but even still, like, it's a real piece of, like, it's a masterpiece essentially. However, I don't actually think it's like that elite from like a writing perspective or anything like that, but I'm in there, let me tell you. They're in my head now. They're in my head. This, like, genuinely, this is like, this is becoming my Roman Empire. Anyway, until next time, I guess. Okay.